Okay, it's 6 o'clock. I'm going to call this meeting to order. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Consider of any changes, additions, or removals to the agenda?
I have none.
None? Approved minutes of previous meeting of May 4th.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes from May 4th.
I have one addition, if you don't mind.
Okay,
Uh,
get a sec, let's get a second. You got a second?
Second.
Okay,
Sorry.
second. Go ahead.
Page 12. When we went into executive session last meeting, the board did recognize and invite Chief Whalen and Chief Warfel and Dispatcher Fitzgibbons into executive session. I'd like to add
Who was
that.
the last person?
Julie Fitzgibbons, Dispatcher.
Fitzgibbons or Fitzpatrick? Which?
Fitzgibbons.
Fitzgibbons. Thank you.
Okay. With those corrections, is there anything else? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Guys opposed? Guys have it. Comments from citizens? Hopefully that works.
I'm Lynn Baldwin. I was here last month, and toward the end of the meeting, there was a discussion about where the money for the trailer firehouse came from. And I think you guys said it was coming out of the money from the option tax. So that confused me a little bit. I recall being here at conversations about what the option tax money was going to be used for. And I was pretty much assured by this board that that money was going to be set aside to accumulate for a fund to maintain the dams that are, we all know, in pretty bad disrepair from a report that came out in 2021 by the Army Corps of Engineers. So I was a little, just, you know, and I do remember specifically asking you guys if you were going to be tucking that money into a separate account and that it wasn't going to be tapped for other things in town that you need money for. And you guys pretty much assured me of that. So now when I'm hearing that we spent money out of the options tax money for the trailer, you know, I just feel like I lost a little confidence in what you told me at the other time. And, you know, my property was quite affected when the spillway of the dam breached in '23. So is everybody on my street. And I know that that got fixed, but I'm a little concerned about what is the status of the dams. Has this board estimated how much in maintenance fund we need to have an ongoing maintenance after it gets fixed so that we don't have a problem like that again? I don't want to get on my soapbox about what I think about the dam, but if that thing breaks, like it said in the report, Ludlow's going to have 8 feet of silt and water downtown. And everybody down the road, down 100 South, is going to be wiped out. And it talks about a catastrophic loss of life. So I guess I understand that we need money for projects and improvements on things, but, you know, if the dam's not a priority and you're going to be spending the money that was supposed to be set aside for that on other things, I'm just, you know, really kind of frustrated by that. Thank you.
And the money was set aside for not only the dams, but also the fire trucks for both bonds. So there was 2 items that we set it aside for, and the money will be there for both bonds.
So I don't think it was included to start repairing any of the maintenance buildings or the firehouse or the,
I'll take this
and
back.
it's not that I don't think that our you know, public emergency people need to have a good place to sleep. That's important too. My point is, I don't want to, I'm just concerned that the money for the dam, it's too easy to say, oh, we want this, we want that, we need this, we need that, and we're going to start tapping it every time there's a need. Thanks.
So just for clarification, the voted language was future infrastructure and capital improvements. That was the language voted by the voters of Ludlow.
I don't recall that. I just recall you guys being pretty specific about the option tax money was really for the dams. And I know I'm not the only citizen here that had that concern and voted yes for the tax based on that.
And
Fred?
that hasn't changed. That money will be there for both bonds when necessary,
Fred?
correct?
Yep.
Just a quick question. Is the temporary housing, is that town capital purchase or infrastructure project? Because that's the ballot, that's on the ballot. So which one of those two would it be?
It's an infrastructure,
But it's temporary.
correct.
And you're gonna say that that's infrastructure?
That was the determination by the select board.
Unanimously, right?
That is correct.
Yeah. Nobody thought different?
I didn't agree with it being where it is, I can tell you that.
Well, that's a whole nother thing. I mean, it's, in my humble estimation, it's illegally put here. It's on two bodies of water, it's too close to the center line of the road. It's, I know you guys talked about it ad nauseam at the
Right.
last meeting, so.
Okay. Justin?
I'll jump in. I understand townspeople's frustrations with this. If you go back to the open meeting, we actually did debate how those funds were being allocated at that time. I implore you to go back and watch it if you'd like. In regards to the spillways, they were remedied. If you guys don't remember, about a year or two ago, the state and the federal guys came here. They put a couple $100,000 into the spillways, and they made them much more safe. We obviously do have a big dam project that is upcoming. We would love nothing more than to see the local options tax, other pieces of the puzzle to come together to build the fund for the dams. I think that's a grand priority, but it was the decision and direction of this board to move forward with that emergency housing.
Fred?
Fred?
Is the options tax, are you guys the sole proprietors of that, or is there any public oversight? Or how does that get disseminated?
The local options tax, I believe, is directed at our discretion through the funds that was listed for purpose of George Tucker. He just listed that for us.
Future infrastructure and capital improvement.
So you guys started talking about the temporary housing in February, if I get the names, if I may be wrong.
That's correct.
And then town meeting was in March, and nobody thought it was important to bring that up at town meeting for an expenditure of $175,000. Wouldn't that have been proper?
So I'm gonna refer to Ms. Wu in just 1 second, but in my understanding, once we pass the budget is passed and goes before the voters at town meeting. The local options tax is a new tax that was just collected for the first quarter on Q4 of 25. So it's a new allocation of funds. The voters approved the local options tax at town meeting. The disbursement of that 100,000 that you're speaking of was discussed at a February meeting. I do believe that to be correct. But we didn't know when that was gonna be actually facilitated. I was unaware of that anyway.
I think, if I read the minutes right, it just said that the temporary housing is gonna go in,
In when?
go in April when the frost came out of the ground, I think, whatever somebody mentioned that.
Right. Yes.
And so in between those two periods was town meeting, where something like that could have been brought up.
I believe it, I believe what you're trying to
You're right,
allude
Fred.
to is that we should involve the public in the discretionary spending of the local options budget.
That's what I'm getting at.
But the directive of the language of the bill was that we had to abide by those certain parameters for it. And it's entrusted, I guess, at the discretion of the select board at the time.
So going forward,
That's right.
just so we're clear, the local options tax is solely
That's right.
on what we deem fits within the parameters that the voters voted upon. Yes.
That is correct. That is correct. What the voters voted on at town meeting was the upcoming fiscal year operating expenses for the town and other things that were written as articles, including the appropriations. 1% doesn't,
And so so we're never ever gonna hear about how the 1% local options tax gets spent.
not at all.
Unless we're sitting here.
Not at all. I bet you have in your notes from town meeting day, if you have those notes, there was discussion about the 1% options tax. And there were, Mr. Buckley here, who was sitting in the front row with his wife, asked if we could actually build that into our town report. And I remember saying, that's an awesome idea. Let's do that. The 1% options tax fund is fluctuating, and we don't know what that balance is until every quarter.
No, I understand how that works.
Okay.
I'm just trying to understand if there's any public oversight other than the trust of the Board of Selectmen.
So it would be an agenda item, and there would be discussion, which involves the public to provide input, as there was done on this purchase.
I would ask you to go back to December 22nd, 2025, and look at the budget as proposed on that day. There's a two-page 11 by 17. There's 2 pages of 11 by 17 that explains the budget. And on page 2 at the top on the left, it lists some options to utilize the options tax.
Okay, but the town voted, shall the voters of the town of Ludlow approve a 1% local options tax on meals, alcohol, rooms, and sales for the purpose of offsetting the cost of town capital purchases and infrastructure projects?
And what you will find in December 22nd, 2025, on that second page, upper left-hand side, are a list of potential projects that we were talking about at the time.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Any other comments from citizens? Moving on, review and possibly approve select board response regarding question government procedures.
So you have in your packets a letter from Julie Nicole asking if the select board makes specific leadership recommendations in an open warned public meeting, and also asking if the intention of the municipal office and the select board is to establish a new standard practice of recommending chairs and vice chairs for independent town boards. What I have in front of you, and I have floated this by you as a draft, is a response to Ms. Nicole, signed by the entire board. How would you like me to handle this, Mr. Chair? Would you like me to read the letter
Yeah.
in response?
Please, yes,
Okay.
please.
It reads, "Dear Ms. Nicole, thank you for your letter requesting clarification of the Planning Commission reorganization meeting on May 12th, 2026. The Ludlow Select Board appoints vacant positions to the Ludlow Planning Commission. The Select Board does not appoint, nor do they tell the Planning Commission who should be chair or vice chair. Procedurally, the Ludlow Select Board filled all seats in accordance with governance procedures. For example, on May 4th, 2026, the board appointed Mr. Matt Bellantoni to a vacant PC seat, PC Planning Commission. A motion was made, seconded, and passed unanimously. Again, the board did not, nor did they ever, make specific leadership recommendations. As a Ludlow trustee, you are fully aware that any personnel, contracts, and legal issues are reserved for executive session and never discussed in an open, warmed public meeting. To that end, there is no need, nor is there an intent of the Select Board to establish a practice of recommending chairs and/or vice chairs of independent committees/commissions. We look forward to the important work the Planning Commission is doing to update zoning bylaws and revise the municipal plan. Both are critical to guide Ludlow's future growth, land use, and development. Feel free to reach out to Ludlow Town Manager Penny Wu, phone number, email, if further dialogue is needed surrounding this matter. Sincerely, Ludlow Select Board. Signed by all of you.
Anybody got anything else on it?
Ms. Wu, Ms. Will, would you like me, since you read that letter, would you like me to scan it into the minutes?
Yeah,
Sure,
yes.
Can you get me a copy?
yes.
Thank you.
Julie? Yeah, go ahead.
I haven't received a letter. I know it just was brought up now. My name is Julie Nicole. Thank you so much for your time, because this has been a concern. My concern wasn't the planning commission, it was just procedural only. And that's the only reason I'm here tonight, and it's the only thing I would like answered. I've been on this DRB for over 30 years. Never, ever has there been a recommendation before a nomination for chairman and vice chairman that it has been told who the select board and the municipal office recommended. That was my only concern. It wasn't who was elected, it wasn't a specific board, it's just in general. I just want to ask if this is going to be a policy of this board to continue to do that.
I'm not aware of that happening.
And I emailed everybody on this board and I asked them to review the minutes of that meeting and also to watch the film, because it is said specifically that it was recommended at the select board meeting, the last select board meeting, for the chairman and vice chairman to that board.
I don't recall that.
And that
I
never,
believe that the minutes were corrected because I was requested to go back over. And I believe it was corrected to read that it was by the main office.
There was two, Alicia, if you watch the video, there were two recommendations. One by the municipal office, which I'm assuming it's you, Penny, because there isn't the other people, and then by the select board.
that, I can speak for myself and my team, that was absolutely my recommendation as the municipal manager to that commission, was to appoint those people. Never did the select board discuss that at all.
Yeah, Ms. Nicole, you and I serve on the trustees together, and I did review the footage of that meeting. I was out of the area when the meeting occurred, so I wasn't there in person. I just want to go on the record, I had no previous intent or knowledge, nor can I say that about any of my colleagues going into that meeting. We simply appoint vacant seats. The board then reorgs at their reorganizational meeting, much like we do here. From what I reserved, recommendations for the chair and vice chair were clearly presented early in the process. I think where you heard the select board was when Ms. Ladd was trying to rebuke or rebuttal Ms. Carter's speaking. They were kind of talking over each other, and she claimed that it was said at a select board meeting. I looked back at the select board minutes.
It was not.
I can't find it. So I think she probably spoke out of frustration or misspoke. But I will tell you on the record in open meeting, I had no previous knowledge, nor do I think my colleagues did.
I did.
Thank you for your time.
Of course. Do I think it could have been handled better at that reorg meeting? I absolutely do. And I think that's a point to consider as well.
Anybody else?
Yes, I do want to say something. The outcome would have been the same. Nothing would have changed. The chair would have been the chair, the vice would have been the vice, and I don't want to put anybody, we're not sticking anybody under the bus here tonight. I have the utmost confidence in Aaron. And I don't think that, I wish it didn't come up tonight, I really did, because I think it might have been a mistake, it might have been misspeaking, but she, and maybe when I was talking to her at one time, I could take part blame for this too. But as far as I'm concerned, this is over. It's a done deal.
And I would agree with Mr. Bates, just because upon viewing the video from the meeting, each member submitted their votes on the record of that open meeting. So I am sorry that we have to discuss it and hash it out, but I do believe it is important for democracy. So thank you, Ms. Nicole.
Okay,
You want a motion to sign the letter?
yeah.
Make a motion to sign the letter.
Second.
Second. Any other discussion on the letter? Being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Guys opposed? Guys have it.
If any of the people in the back of the room haven't already given me their names, please do so. And, yes. Otis? No, thank you. Thank you. Excuse me? Sam Turco?
Yep.
And I think I see Marissa, I see Jeff. I can't see who's behind Jeff. Brendan.
We weren't gonna say that out loud, but
And is that MC? And is that NEIL? I guess. Is there? Thank you, Lorraine. Sorry, but I have to have it for the record.
okay, moving on. Number 6, department head reports. Anybody have anything on department head reports?
I do, Chair.
I'll just interject that, recall at the last meeting, we started to bring in a couple of department head and directors, just to kind of give an overview. And tonight we have Chief Jeff Warfel and Ron Tarble from PD and Highway.
Justin.
Welcome.
Go ahead, Justin.
In department head reports, thank you, Ms. Wu. Fire and ambulance report, 73 calls in May, is that correct, Mr. Whalen? Is that higher or lower than last May?
I don't have that answer at this moment, but I get it to you.
No problem. I am just curious, when we do wastewater monthly reports in the trustees, they do comparisons year over year. Just a nice little piece of insight for us. It says that Ludlow ambulances, when they're unavailable, the outside agency response can take 35 to 45 minutes. It can cost maybe up to $2,000 per uncovered incident.
So when we are out on a call and a second call for service comes in, if we don't have a second crew in-house or they are too far away, we will call in for mutual aid ambulances to come and cover those incidents. So between the lost revenue, putting that at an average revenue of roughly $1,500, and then the added costs that Chester and or Springfield charges us of $500 per call, that comes into $2,000. At the end of, I think in the report, I noted that we had 12 calls that would have required outside agencies potentially to come in, and 24,000. I think we ended the year, or excuse me, ended the month with 15 second calls that happened at the same time. We did not lose all of that this current month, or last month, due to us staffing that second crew. But roughly that number would have been, had we not had the ability to staff a second ambulance, between lost revenue and the expenses of having them come in, it would have been roughly 30,000.
30,000.
30,000. Because it went up from when the report was written.
You are growing the EMS and the fire volunteer numbers, correct?
Paid on call.
Paid on call, thank you.
Ben, while you're up there, the last year, if we had had the same number of second calls, were we covering any of those, or are we running the one?
We were covering some. I'm going to talk about him here real quick for a second. So I think to introduce everybody, Clint Devendonis is our new Deputy Chief of EMS. And so that was actually a topic we were discussing earlier today, was trying to be able to track previous call history. And it is difficult for us in Siren, which is the record management system we use for medical calls. based on what we missed and if a call was actually entered into that. So we'll do some cross-referencing to try and figure those things out. But what I will say is, during the hours of essentially 8 to 5, several days a week, with having Clint on board and then trying to meet some transfer obligations that we're trying to get on board with, I would say we have met the most amount of second duplicate calls at the same time that we probably ever have this past month. And it's been strange. I mean, there's a couple days during the month that we had 2 duplicate calls on the same day. So essentially 4 calls happening, and at 2 times, 2 of those were happening at the same time. So 2 ambulances out the door working those calls.
And Chief, thank you for answering these questions. While we work into the future and go through the changes, you know, the ambulance coverage issue, I like that you broke it down into the tracking metrics on this monthly report. We should keep doing that. The average response delays, estimated impact on the costs, tracking the unavailable periods when in the day is the low or high points. That helps us make better informed decisions on budget seasons as well. So thank you.
I appreciate that. And I think, you know, as we look at the future and going on, we have to find this happy medium, right? Of how do we increase public safety, but not necessarily overly increase our budget at all to meet that need. To me, you know, somebody in need waiting 45 minutes for an ambulance is not necessarily an acceptable option. Having this second crew on this past month has proven valuable, and we really have been able to meet a lot more call need. And we at the same time have been able to get some transfers in, which allows us to help people throughout you know, those folks aren't just from Ludlow, they're from the greater area, but us being able to transfer somebody out of Springfield Hospital also frees up bed space for potentially someone in our response area to then have a bed. And we're continuing to have good communications with the Gill Home, and we've done a bunch of transfers for them. We have another meeting with them as we have another meeting tomorrow, I believe, to continue working on that relationship.
Thank you.
And Ben, just one more thing, kind of granular here, but when you do your June report, will you go from when you wrote this report, so May 27th through the end of June?
Yes.
Or through that? Because maybe just putting a start end date would be great, and just knowing that, hey, we didn't miss those, you know, you said 12 double calls, making sure, hey, we knew that there was actually 15 in that period is great.
Understood. I'll throw the start and end date. I know on my reports I typically try to put calls since the last report. Yeah. I don't do calls in the month. Thank you.
Thank you.
Throwing darts or what? Ron, you want to go first? I don't know how much likes to get up front, so let's get it out of the way.
We've been busy changing culverts, been ditching on the mountain. One culvert failed on a FEMA Wakers, we changed that. We cleaned up gravel debris behind the car wash down there that was left over from the flood. We just hadn't got back to. We're gonna crush that as soon as, hopefully this summer. And that'll go in the gravel, for crushed gravel. We assist in the water department, various spots, Thompson Avenue, High Street. And that's about it. We started painting crosswalks. We're waiting on more paint because I didn't order enough. I was looking out to save money, and we're short.
Where is that water project on Orion and Thompson at?
I'm sorry, Brett, talk into the mic, please.
I was asking Ron whereabouts we're at with that water project on Thompson and Orion.
Just as soon as M&M is done, I believe, and the water commissioners are gonna vote on that, I believe, tomorrow night.
Okay.
But as soon as we can get them freed up on the mountain, that is potentially they're gonna start up by Garvey's and come down through to the hydrant And we're in hopes that the water main moves back over on the other side of the road and get it away from the sewer main, because right now they're touching each other, so, which is not good.
Anybody else got anything for Ron?
Sure. Do you have any concerns to raise the select board that we should be aware of? We don't get to hear from you too often in person, so.
Guess I would just bring up that, don't forget the garage. I brought it up to this board before, years past, budget time. We are maxed out. I mean, that building is bulging at the seams in the winter. So it definitely needs to be on your radar.
What was that, Ron? Don't forget why?
The town garage is, we're out of space, and we've outgrown it. That garage was put in the late 60s, early 70s, what I've been told. And trucks and equipment are a lot bigger now than they used to be. And,
Where are you parking the grader?
and the grader's parked outdoors. It's $300,000 piece of equipment.
Yeah, that's a shame, and you're right.
Would you be able to utilize the garages as they are, or would that need to be fully replaced?
No, we can still utilize the garage we have now.
Yep.
We just need to have an external building where the buses used to sit would be great. Big enough to put, a loader, a grader, a couple tandems in them. I mean, that would free up a lot of space in the garage,
Heated?
in the big garage. Potentially, yes. Otherwise, they gotta be plugged in until they start. But if nothing else, we can look at all options. Definitely needs to be looked at.
Thank you, Mr. Darble.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Let's see. So last month we had 122 calls, and we had 136 this time. We did 52 traffic stops this month versus 60 last month. We had the Memorial Day Parade on the 25th. The rain held off or stopped just in time, so that was nice. Sent Officer Hauser to death investigation school, so almost every one of my employees or sworn officers are death certified, so it was a good thing. Officer Foot's been maintaining her certification for special investigative unit. We hosted some dispatch training. It went fairly well. Still going to be doing more in the future. Received good feedback from all the dispatchers, so that was good. Last month I met with the Cavendish town manager regarding police coverage. They really want us to take over, but I don't know if we can do it right now. They have some money to spend. They wanted to do it July 1st. I think Penny and I are going to talk this week, I think. Is that right? And we got 2 dispatchers up for retirement. They announced their retirements last month, and it's going to take effect June and July. Dispatch morale is a little low, but we'll talk about that later. And yeah, we got the jobs posted, so I got at least one applicant for right now. I think I received another one this afternoon, but I've been running around all over today, so. That's all I got.
Questions for Jeff?
Chief, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Question for you. First, I'd like to take a moment to recognize the dispatchers that are retiring, Mr. Martell and Mr. Van Gelder. I believe they've served on that duty for many moons, so
25 and 33 years respectively.
very impressive, and please give them our best. The meeting with Cavendish Town Manager, I'm hopeful to gain a little bit more insight into that as the days progress.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate the info.
No problem.
That's all I have.
George?
Did you pick up your scales today?
Oh, yes, I did. I picked those up this morning, and they are ripped, worn, ready to go.
Oh, okay.
Did you say scales?
Scales, yeah. And maybe if you can just give a brief overview of,
Yeah.
and touch on the MOU you had to sign
Yes.
for those?
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to read it all yet, but, these scales, they're for weighing oversized and overweight trucks, commercial motor vehicles. So myself and Officer Hauser went through a DMV school here recently, back in March, I think it was, for being able to enforce sizes and weights. These are big ticket items, no pun intended there. They generate a lot of revenue, and that's something we're gonna start doing here this month.
And how many stops do you expect of that variety to?
Well, quite a few, at least for a little bit, and then, people will start getting the word out that Ludlow's doing this, so they'll try to route avenues around us, but, see what we can do.
Thank you very much.
And are those routine stops, or is it, hey, they need to?
Well, no stop is routine, but there's got to be a motor vehicle violation, or if we suspect that a truck is overweight, based off of training and experience, we can stop that. So when they're going up the 3 lanes at 15 miles an hour, they're probably overweight. So,
What is the ticket for an over?
it depends on how much they're
Rough.
over. They're over. They range from $1,000 to over $10,000 fine.
Nice.
All but 15% comes back to the town.
Even if it's on the 3 lanes?
They are our roads, so yes.
Is that 15%?
All but 15%, yes.
All but.
All but 15.
All but 15%. Okay, thank you.
So, yeah, 85% is ours.
Nice, very nice, Jeff.
Yep.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay. Anything else?
Just one,
Yes, sir.
same thing with Chief Whalen, a date would be awesome, just,
Yes.
I don't know if, same thing with you, when the report gets generated, being able to capture and, know that, hey, this is actually what happened in the.
Yeah, that's
30 days.
that's fair. I know at the end of the year, it is more accurate because
Yeah.
there's usually a couple days elapsed just because of the due date
Yeah.
on these. So,
Yep.
yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, our meetings are early in the month, so I know it's hard to get the full month, but, yeah.
Fred, you have a question?
Actually, they don't cost us anything. We get to borrow them from the DMV, DMV enforcement. If we were to buy them, they'd be about $20,000 a piece, and we need at least 6.
So this is a win-win.
Very much so. It is a lot of work though, and it takes a lot of time, so. Because there's a time limit, you have an hour to weigh a truck from the moment of stop. So if I stopped you right now, if it's 7:38, I can't write you that ticket anymore. I can't weigh you.
How long does it take to weigh the truck?
Once you get them stopped, it takes about half an hour. So, and that's if they're being cooperative. All right. Anything else?
That's it. Thank you,
Okay.
Jeff.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody got anything else on department head reports? Being nothing, review and possibly approve request licenses.
I have none. I have none.
Done? Okay, review and possibly approve new facility use form and fees.
Okay, what you have in your packet is the existing form, and this is for the rental of the community center, pieces of the community center, Town Hall, Dorsey Park, West Hill, and 2 other parks, Veterans and the mini park. So you have in your packet the existing form, and then you also have a draft updated form. What we've updated is primarily the conditions. We've added a indemnification clause. We removed the COVID clause. And then on the back, you have, what you see are fees commensurate with the facility of use.
Thank you, Ms. Wu. Who worked on this? Is this the zone office?
From your municipal group, we had Diane Knight from the municipal office, Kevin McPherson from Buildings and Grounds, and Nick Mealy from Parks and
Great.
Rec.
Thank
and
you.
myself. So all four of
Appreciate
us.
it.
We looked at past use for the last 3 years. We looked at those that paid. We looked at those that didn't pay. We looked at a commercial entity that's been using the kitchen, and sometimes they pay and sometimes they don't. So we decided that we needed to make it very clear and clean up what the fee schedule looks like.
It looks great. One question I had is the auditorium, up to 4 hours weekday is 200 on the new one, and the auditorium was 65 per event on the old form. How often does this auditorium get rented?
Not a whole lot.
I would think 65 is probably not enough to keep the lights on at this point. I don't know. That was the only one that really popped out to me. But I think parsing it all out and making it more structured is a great idea.
Are you suggesting that the 200 for up to 4 hours on a weekday,
I feel like that's high.
is it high?
Myself, that's my feeling.
What did you say that was high?
Yeah.
What would you propose there?
100.
Half that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I agree, half that.
Okay.
But it looks like everything else is pretty in line. The only other thing I'm noticing that's gone up by $100 is the per night event with lights at Dorsey Park or Pullinen Field, and that's obviously due to electrical costs. How many of those events do we host, and are they not affiliated with us, the municipality, or the town?
Oof, I wish Nick were here. He could answer that easily. I know of at least 2 tournaments that are in that category.
Maybe this is a question for you, Brett, but does $200 for the lights at Dorsey seem like
They are pricey.
So expensive.
They're wicked.
But does that even cover the lights being turned on and used?
Yeah, but you're not getting much revenue over that.
Yeah, okay. I want to make sure we're not,
Yeah, we did the
Those are
figures for
expensive.
those.
yeah. And Penny, one thing I noticed, no security deposit for the new one. I just don't know if that's needed, or how that even goes. I know
You could
if we're
build it
giving
into
them
the
all
condition.
back, then, if we're cashing that check and then writing another check, like there's an expense in time there, and if we're giving them all back, but, just one thing there.
I can check with the
There's
team.
a reason, right?
Yeah.
I make a motion,
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we go forward with the facilities and equipment request and use form with the one change for the auditorium, weekdays 8 to 4, up to 4 hours from 200 to 100.
I'll second that.
Okay, is there any other discussion on that? Bruce?
I guess maybe I should have popped up a little sooner. I guess I'm just kind of trying to understand, are we going to charge schools to use Dorsey Park for the tournament? Because that's what it sounded like.
My understanding is that no Ludlow town municipality, town-affiliated event would be charged. But we don't have the rec director here to clarify that.
Well, you have, they do 4 nights of tournaments there for this. They do it for Green Mountain for the kids that go from Ludlow to Green Mountain if Black River was still going. And I think they tried to have Mill River in. I just think that's, I don't think that's right to be charging for the tournament. And, I guess I just question some of these other, who makes it, doesn't say, who makes the decision? You just had the garden club in, this is called Kesman Park, not the mini park. We're going to charge them? You know, we have, you know, events down at, you know, yard sales down at Veterans Park. And then, is it the town manager's job to decide if it's an important enough nonprofit, or if it affiliates? There's nothing in there that shows anything like that. And then I guess the last thing is, what does TBD mean for, most of the time people are going to want to use this auditorium at night or weekends. Either we're going to let them do it or we're not going to. Is it just going to, it sounds like you got to talk to the town manager. I don't know, I guess I would encourage the board to really make sure you've worked all these things through, because we're going to be stuck with it. You're going to decide, like, hey, this is where I want to go. But I definitely think we should be looking to cover our cost. I am not in favor of us charging for the tournament to turn the lights on. We've accepted the fact that we're running Legion baseball down at Pullen Field. We're going to charge the Legion for that. We've accepted that we're, you know, going to do some of that with the, you know, with Dorsey and like that. And my last thing is, I would try to encourage the town manager and the board, how do we make these things so that they are online? So we're not doing paper, you know, so you can fill them out. You know, I think that's something that we could do a better job with a lot of things, but, you know, not having to do you know, something like with paper. So thank you for your time.
I appreciate that.
And now that Bruce brought that up, I do have a question. Legion baseball, a lot of times they have double headers. The Legion put a lot of money into that ball field. Are we going to charge them for their second game if we have to turn the lights on? Because they paid to have all the lights switched out. They put a lot into this. And it took us years to get a Legion team back here again.
Yeah, it leads into a bigger question. What's on the books currently? We
Yeah.
have the existing form, but this existing form doesn't answer any of your questions. So we have to answer those questions regardless of the form change.
Hearing the discussion, I'd recommend that we table this one for next month, and I can have Director of Parks and Rec, Nick Mealy here.
And Benny, I think our events permit does have language about nonprofits and, you know, the PTG or a school fundraiser, those kind of things that doesn't charge them, so maybe that's something to look into.
The nonprofits have been, the fee's been waived for most of the nonprofits. We typically use that term pretty loosely. When you say nonprofit, what does that really mean? From my audit from the last 3 years of the existing facility uses, the town has been taken advantage of.
Bruce, I think this is more of a handshake, but how I would read this without proper structure is Dorsey Park and Pullen Field per day event is if somebody wants to have a birthday party there, not necessarily if somebody wants to play Legion Baseball League. But I understand that the language is not thorough enough in there, so I appreciate the point.
I totally agree, but it was mentioned about the tournaments.
Yeah.
Someone mentioned that.
No, you're right. You're right, and when those
I think
tournaments...
it's a salient point.
So when, we'll bring Nick in next month. But just know that when those tournaments come in, they typically utilize our concessions, and they will then sell and make all sorts of money. Shouldn't we redeem something?
Knowing what the cost is, I would be in full support of Josh Cole and the Girls Invitational Tournament. That has been a staple in our community that I would want to see go forward, and if we lose money.
Noah, did you say Josh Cole?
Josh Cole.
Josh Cole Tournament. Good discussion.
Yeah, that's the direction of the board, correct?
Then I will rescind my motion.
Okay. We will table this till next month.
Great. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
review
you.
and possibly approve updated planning and zoning fees.
This will be the second reading for the planning and zoning fees. If you recall, last month, Director Aaron Ladd brought forward, you have in your packet, and nothing has changed from last month. She has received no feedback from last month. She's asking, and I would recommend that the board approve the updated planning and zoning fees.
I make a motion that we approve the fees as presented.
Second?
Second. Any discussion? Eric?
Take this back.
Eric Alden, Trailside Road. My apologies, because I did intend to have a discussion with Erin. I wanted to chat with her about this ahead of time. It just didn't work out, I'm sorry. Just a couple of items on this that I wanted either clarification or a defense for. First one is under the fee categories, the single-family residence, two-family residence.
You got a page number?
Page 1.
Yeah, the top.
I don't know how it is on your copy, sorry.
First, Scott, if you open it up, it's on the back of the first page.
Page 1.
So I'll start by saying
Family residence.
I understand and appreciate and agree with the need to increase some of these fees. On the single-family residence, you're going from 165, 10 cents a square foot, to 450, 15 cents a square foot. Fine. On the two-family, you jump up to a 900, and then the square foot rate jumps up also. So my question is really on that 25 square foot rate, why that jumps. If I build a 5,000 square foot single-family residence, it would, per the permit, it would cost me $1,200. If I build a two-family, that jumps up to $2,400. We've had a lot of discussion about trying to encourage multifamily construction and making it easier.
I'll take this, Brett, if you want. I can answer your question. So just as a clarification, for single-family residence, the new fee would be $750, and for a two-family residence, the new fee would be $1,400. That would be include both units.
That's
Make an assumption on the
cost.
2,000 square foot home.
Yeah.
Correct. So that was a 2,000 square foot home based off of that fee there. So
It's double on it, so it's the same 2,000 square feet, but it's double the price.
Correct. So from my understanding, it has to do with the direct correlation of the amount of review required in-house. And so as more units become added, there's additional review that usually occurs. It's not as simple, straightforward as a single-family home.
Typically, you don't have a dual rate on the square footage. You know, you're making up for that in your permit fee there.
So
You know,
looking at the cost per hour of what our, we'll call it, labor burden would be to the town for these permit reviews, I understand that it might seem like a significant increase, but these fees hadn't been updated for, I believe, 20 years. And so bringing us up accounting just for inflation, adding in to make sure that we actually are recovering some of the review time. Personally, I audited some of the permit times, and the town has been subsidizing even single-family permits at our existing rates at a significant rate.
Don't disagree that for the need to increase it. I'm just wondering why it's 15 to 25 when you're reviewing a plan of 2,000 square feet. You're reviewing a plan of 2,000 square feet.
So I think it has to do with the complexity of one unit versus two units. There's that added complexity.
Fair enough. Okay, I'll move on to just the next one. Where was I? I had three of them, sorry. One that wasn't really on my list was just the sign permit piece and in the amount that is going up, for a sign permit seemed a little excessive. It was like $40 to $150. So George, maybe you're the best to do this. On the subdivision, your increase is going up, but it's also going from 150 per lot to 250 per lot. 250.
Which page is that on?
Three.
The increase in the permit fee is okay, but I question the increase in the per lot fee.
So this all comes back to the same as kind of as my first response, is it directly relates to the amount of time involved. There is a significant difference between a 2-lot subdivision and a 15-lot subdivision. And how do you create a fee structure that doesn't penalize the person who wants to say, hey, I want to just cut off 3 acres for my son or daughter, but how do we account for the extra burden on that 15-lot subdivision? I will also preface that the abutter cost has been being subsidized by the town of Ludlow, and there are permits that we have done that have included 300 abutters previously. So
That was my third point, was the $10 per abutter. That seems incredibly excessive.
I know it seems that way, but we went out to other towns and we looked at how they were trying to capture back that staff time. The amount of staff time to print, seal, mail that envelope is significant, and it should not be the burden of the Ludlow taxpayers to subsidize when there's 300 abutters that need to be notified. That was the feeling.
Don't disagree with that. It's just, what is the cost of doing that? $10 per abutter seems like that is well above what the cost is. And, the taxpayers have already paid for some of this, even though they don't use it. Like certain roads get my road gets a lot more sand than maybe your road. We're all sort of paying for some of these items that we don't use already through the budget. So I just wanted to point those 3 out.
No, and kind of is to tack on this fee does not cover that total expense that would be incurred. The labor burden for that office is extremely high per hour, and I hate to say like we stopwatched like packing 15 envelopes, like looking up the abutters, printing them off, labels, printing off the notices, packing envelopes, stamps. This does not even cover a major portion. This is to just stop the bleeding.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you, Mr. Alden.
Okay. Anybody else on any?
There's been a lot of documentation on this, a lot of back and forth, a lot of comparables to other towns, which I very much appreciate. As we know, Mr. Tucker serves on the Development Review Board, so your expertise comes in handy on discussions like this. I thank you. Mr. Alden, you raised some good questions. I do understand the premise of them. Reviewing all of them, they look pretty in line. What was the one the temporary tents, seasonal structures is vague for me. I was hoping to get a little bit more information regarding what that constitutes.
So I believe from last meeting that is, you have an event and you set up a tent.
And if we continue this train of thought, I was told we didn't have an event permit. Is that correct?
We do.
We do have an event permit. So we have an event permit and we're going to have a tent permit.
I don't know if we have an event permit.
Event and tent?
No, I guess what I referenced prior with the community event, I don't know if it's an event or a vendor permit.
A vendor permit
So like,
makes
hey,
sense.
you want to sell cookies outside of Shaw's.
But if they want to put a tent up there, we're not going to charge them a tent and
So I believe the clarification at last month's meeting was, think of large circus tent, was the example that was used. Particularly something that is targeted for not a one-day event. Like the questions that were raised at that meeting included, what about pop-up tents for the farmer's market, right, as an example?
Yeah.
And well, that's not the sort of tent that we're trying to reference. We're talking large scale, like circus-sized tents.
So if somebody owns property on Commonwealth and is having a wedding, and that wedding tent will be up over the weekend, they would technically want to get a temporary tent seasonal structure permit.
That's one of the new ones that I don't really believe that we're gonna see many of those permits at all. And I'd be on board to strike that from the list.
Yeah, I'd like more clarification on that. I was thinking more Echo Lake Inn puts up a tent for summer weddings, and it's up all summer.
Correct.
Um,
That was
that
what I thought we would have been alluded to at last month's discussion.
My next is solar, utility, and wind. Direct peer match to Killington for residential. My comment would be on commercial. Is that too low for commercial solar farm development?
So in discussions with Aaron and some others, it was raised that this was significantly lower. There is really no good example for us to go off of. One consideration that was made was like a direct staff time, like you put in so much money into an escrow account that we then bill against at a per hour rate. The town has never done that before, and it was decided to kind of start with this small change, and as it comes forward, we can always update as needed.
Thank you.
Ben Whalen, Fire Chief. Real quick, just back to tents for a hot moment. Just from my time as a fire marshal, so the state does require permits for tents and I'm going to read the permit real quick. So tents must be permitted when tent exceeds 1,200 square feet in area. And they go on to further define that as tents used for weddings, graduations, anniversaries, etc., occurring at public locations such as restaurants, must have a permit when the tent is larger than 1,200 square feet. Tents at a private residence, regardless of size, where people are attending a private function without paying admission, are exempt from permitting. I know that's the Division of Fire Safety and not the town of Ludlow. The reason they're doing that is based on the concept of life safety. If you're putting that many people into it, it then classifies as an assembly occupancy and then has to meet fire code, it has to have extinguishers, the material has to be the right kind, etc. So that's just I know when we initially met about some of these permit fees, we did look at the DFS permits for examples. It's a good spot to look on that one. I think that's a good definition.
How much is that permit?
So same as everything with DFS, they do $8 per thousand. And as you think about that on a multi-million-dollar home or duplex, they're collecting considerably more than the town of Ludlow.
Yeah.
So I think that the tents thing would be good to discuss with Erin. I think the rest of it, she is a professional, great at her job, and I know a lot of work has gone into this, so I would move forward with approving this without the temporary tents and seasonal structures, and ask that Erin come to the next meeting to discuss that, and we could add that in.
To the tents.
To the tents. I think similar to earlier, just knowing what are we gonna, because I think putting up a wedding tent on private property like that, you know, similar to Division of Fire Safety, private property, you're doing your own thing. As soon as you're opening up money making, something like that, it changes.
Also, I think Mr. Alden had a pretty good point with the two-family residence. And I know you made a motion, Mr. Schmidt. I'll second it. I do get why the base is, you know, double. The base should constitute the most of the heavy lifting on the additional work, not the square footage price, I keep thinking.
So the challenge that I believe Aaron's faced is there's a significant difference between a 2,002 unit, right? And we've had, I believe it was a 15,000 multifamily that was proposed at a recent application. So that there is right, which that does involve.
A lot more work than the
Right,
base. Yeah.
and so that is, I believe that it truly, that per square foot is a good mathematical representation. The rate I am up for, being flexible on, I think that amount of review required, if we tallied every type of permit, would probably astound most people.
Okay.
Well, I guess, George, what is a three units?
It'd be the same, right? The 900 base plus 25
Yeah.
cents a square foot. So
Okay,
anything
so
above
that's
2.
So really, that shouldn't be two-family residence, that's multi-unit.
And depending on how many units that is, it might not be a permitted use and would become a conditional use, which falls under public hearing fees. So depending on what zoning district you're in, et cetera. So I will amend the motion to strike the tent fee until further consideration.
And who's seconding that?
Second?
Yeah, I think that was your.
Okay, is there any other discussion on anything? Not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Guys opposed? Ayes have it. Review and possibly approve gravel crushing contract for infrastructure projects.
You have in your packet 3 quotes for the Highway Department. Estimates received for gravel crushing. One from Bazine Brothers Trucking, one from Belden Construction, and one from Crown Point. Belden Construction is the lowest quote at $8.50 per cubic yard with no mobilization costs. And we are looking at least 4,000 cubic yards needed. I'd make the recommendation that the board approve the Belden construction for this project.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second. Any discussion on it?
Who made
Ron?
the motion?
I was looking for
Justin.
Ron.
I seconded.
And who seconded it?
Give it to George.
Ron, any comments on this? And you do this every few years?
Every 3 years. You did make the budget last year, so it's 4 years now.
And where's this, the material that we're crushing coming from?
It is all the pavement that is brought in from various houses we dig up, or contractors that have been built out there, so we can utilize that to crush it. The gravel on truck,
And what do we use it for?
we resurface the gravel roads with it.
Thank you.
Anything else? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Guys opposed? Guys have it. Municipal manager update.
Merger update. So the Legislative Council has drafted a new charter, and we have provided comments. Nothing will get done until the next legislative session. Probably in September is when they will pick this up. At that time, Legislative Council will then turn it over to the House Committee on Government Operations, and hopefully our representative will take this to the floor for review and approval. And if, when that happens, implementation will take place July 1st, 2027. Thank you to Chris Recchia, Logan Nicole, and Sarah Tarrant-Gillies for their help on reviewing the draft charter. So we're getting close. Junkyard and solid waste ordinances, as I indicated last month, I have received some complaints. I did review the ordinances, and as such, and in adherence with those ordinances that we have for both the village and the town, I will draft a letter for both boards to sign and send to the property owners at 92 Andover Street and 22 Pond Street. Black River High School building. I've started initial discussions with 2 citizens interested in helping develop a path forward for the Black River High School building. I believe next steps will be to bring forth a building committee, and perhaps that will be next month. So we have started those conversations.
If anybody wants to be on the building committee, please contact the municipal office.
Flood recovery projects, and I know that we have two colleagues online here, and they've been patiently waiting and can answer questions that the board may have on some of our flood recovery projects. They are with the State of Vermont Flood Recovery Team, Vermont Emergency Management. They've been extremely helpful. Clark Drive Bridge Replacement Project. So we have been working with Hoyle and Tanner engineering firm. They have developed 6 alternatives, and we have asked them to come to July's select board meeting to provide an overview and to answer questions for you. In preparation for that July presentation, I will provide you with what they have given us so far. Those 6 alternatives range in rebuilding the bridge in its original location, which V-Trans does not like, and our highway plow drivers do not like, to the tune of $3.7 million. Another alternative is to extend Plumley Avenue, which would avoid having a bridge in that location, and that's approximately $800,000. A third alternative is decommission Clark Drive and Bridge altogether, and this would constitute a purchase of those properties outright. I have not reached out to either of those properties to even see if that is a possibility. Even to decommission Clark Drive and the bridge itself and do just eliminating that crossing is just over $1 million. Another alternative is to rebuild the bridge in the original location and then set up a temporary bridge, and that's approximately $3.6 million. And then there are 2 other proposed crossings just south and north of the existing location, and these 2 alternatives are still in development, but they may be, they will be a lot cheaper than rebuilding in the original. And one is approximately just over $2 million, the other one's about $2.8 million.
Why is that?
Because replacing the bridge where it stands is
You have to take all the trusses
well,
out.
you close down to 1-lane traffic. You gotta.
In some of those alternatives, one of them does include a complete closure of Route 100.
Oof.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah, we
one
can't
should
do
get the
that.
transfer station.
That's why we are exploring the 2 other ones just north and south of the existing location.
So the decommissioning is what, 3 million you said? Something like that?
Decommissioning,
Million.
just over $1 million.
Just over $1
So
million, take
would
it out.
you have to, if you extended Plumley, you'd have the 800 for that and you'd still
Million.
have to do the decommissioning, so
That's-
really that's 1.8?
That is correct.
How many landowners?
2.
That's it for extending the road? 2.
Thank you, Ms. Wu.
Funding?
So there'll be additional packets coming in terms of all these alternatives, and you'll know all there is to know about drilling into rock.
Is this FEMA money?
Thad, Kim, are we talking FEMA money, or, I know it's flood recovery money? Hold on one second,
Hold on
Thad.
just a sec, so you can turn them.
Trying to get you looped into the speakers here. Mic check. Go ahead, Thad.
Thad, try again.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep,
Yes.
better.
Okay, well, Kim, if you don't mind, since I've been sitting on this project for so long, I'll take it for you. Kim is the Public Assistance Officer for the state who I support in Vermont. So, we both joined just to give you guys the FEMA policy so you know how the funding will work if you, basically, so you'll be fully informed when you make your decisions, right? So you lost a bridge due to the event at that site. FEMA will fund a reasonable codes and standards replacement, meaning it's got to be built to modern code at its previous location. That's for, potentially 3 point some odd million dollars. Or they'll allow you to take that funding to do what we call capped projects. And that's when you can take that funding and do alternatives with it. And it's capped at either the cost of the the cost of the original repair, or generally speaking, the cost of the alternative, or whichever is lower, right? So if you hit your cap, like let's say the bridge was only worth $1 million to replace, you want to build a new one, take on the new road, Pullman, expand the existing road, and that was 2 million, you'd pay the delta. But if it's less, if your improved project is less, and it can include decommissioning the old bridge, then FEMA will fully cover it. So I looked briefly at the, and there's a lot of paperwork we have to do with FEMA, right? It's never an easy thing with FEMA, but this is the way the policy reads, and we would get you there. But generally speaking, having glanced through your alternatives analysis, I think the fact that the original structure would be so expensive to replace, in a manner that meets, current codes and standards and the technical requirements of the site is significantly high, that you probably could choose any of those other options, right? Because they all, and correct me if I'm wrong, Penny, they all came in lower than the actual putting a bridge right back at its exact location. Is that correct?
Yes.
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 Yeah. So I think, again, the decision will be what's best for the town, but from a FEMA funding standpoint, again, nothing's ever easy with FEMA, but that's the way the policy reads, and the state would support you guys to get the amount of up to what if you wanted to put a bridge back there, it would be funded at actual cost. If you don't want to put a bridge back there, it would be capped at an estimate of what that would cost, and you could make these other choices. Up to and including removing the existing bridge when if you were to put in your new road, you could also remove the existing bridge, which would probably be the best thing for the floodplain.
And Thad, is it true that there is no money to purchase property?
That's an interesting question. Could we use it to do a land acquisition? I don't want to go out on a limb and say definitely yes, but also not definitely no. At the end of the day, the funding, the result of doing one of these projects has to have a public benefit and has to result in an otherwise public assistance eligible program project. So I do think it's possible, but I would have to research that more. I want to say it's not definitely off. But then you're getting into URA, universal relocation assistance, and all that, and there's a lot of hidden traps in that, going down that route. But it is possible, I think.
It's good to know. You have options.
Options are good.
Thank you, VEM, Thad and Kim. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Thank you both. Other flood recovery updates, as you know, 91 Route 103, formerly Sam's Steakhouse, has been identified by our state group here in terms of a demo contractor, and that is ReArc Construction. They have been doing some preliminary assessments to really determine what they're getting into and what other type of subcontractors are needed. If there's things like asbestos or hidden tanks or things like that. So that's proceeding. You may see actual movement end of June, early July. think that's, those are my updates.
Other business? Anybody got anything?
We did get a letter from HCRS thanking the residents of Ludlow for their continued support. And I just want to acknowledge the good work that HCRS does in Southern Vermont, and the fact that we're able to support them as a community goes a long way for those folks. So thank you guys, and thank HCRS.
Possible items for next meeting? Nothing. Warrant orders are signed. Possible executive sessions for personnel, contract, legal issues, possible annual employment wage increase, and dispatch discussion.
I make a motion that we go into executive session for personnel, contract, and legal issues.
I'd like the board to recognize that we are going to invite Chiefs Whalen and Warfel into executive session.
Understood. I'll second that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Thank you, everybody.